Hi everyone, my name is Taherah and today is Tuesday, which means it's time to discuss our book of the week, which is Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood. First, this is a spoiler-free section, so if you haven't read this book yet, don't worry about it, it won't be spoiled for you here. There will be some spoiler-related things that I want to discuss, but that will be later on in the video and you will get plenty of warning. If you'd like to join in on any of the book discussions, send me your thoughts, comments, or even a short video clip of you discussing the book, then I'll list the next upcoming 4 books in the description below. I've said it once and I'll say it again. Ali Hazelwood is clearly a very intelligent woman and she likes to flex that in her books while still keeping them very simple and super easy to read. If you've ever read an Ali Hazelwood book, then you kind of know what to expect in terms of it being a super easy to read romance that isn't really too deep and just sort of does what it says on the tin. You know, it's not overly complicated, the plot and the characters are usually really easy to digest and follow, despite the very interesting and complex topics. You know, they're kind of like the perfect palate cleanser because it's super easy to fly through them, they're very straightforward, if not a little predictable at times. And whenever I say this, I feel like I just need to clarify that I don't mean that in a bad way. I think that if a romance book isn't at least a little bit predictable, then is it really a romance? So I rated this book 3.75 stars. It was a really enjoyable read, but perhaps I would have enjoyed it a little bit more if there was a little more depth to the main characters, and I had a couple of other issues here and there, but overall I really enjoyed it. It was a nice and easy read, and I of course did root for the main love interest. Okay, so a quick summary. Like an avenging purple-haired Jedi, bringing balance to the mansplained universe, B lives by one rule. What would Marie Curie do? If NASA offered her a lead on a neuroengineering project, a literal dream come true after scraping by on the crumbs of academia, Marie would of course accept without any hesitation. But the mother of physics never had to co-lead with Levi Ward. Sure, he's handsome in a tall, dark and piercing eyes sort of way, but Levi made his feelings towards B pretty clear. Arch enemies work best employed in galaxies far, far away. Now her equipment is missing, the staff are ignoring her, and B finds her floundering career in somewhat of a pickle. But when it comes time to make a move and put her heart on the line, only one question matters. What would B do? If I had to compare this to any other book, I would probably say something like The X-Talk or Beach Read. It's a classic workplace enemies to lovers, but with a STEM trope. And if you haven't guessed by those recommendations, the fact that they don't have that STEM trope, I don't think I've actually read any until now. And not really for any particular reason. I mean, I didn't think it was going to be for me. I mean, science I don't find the most interesting topic, but I was actually really surprised with just how much I enjoyed that element. As I said, Ali Hazelwood is clearly very intelligent and likes to include what she knows in her books, and I think that she is actually a neuroscientist, which is quite cool. However, for someone like me whose science education was limited and did not go any further than high school, it was still really easy and interesting to follow while still feeling like a very relevant and present theme. You know how sometimes you read a sports romance and the sport seems barely relevant to the plot? It wasn't like that. Anyways, it was a fun and easy read and I really liked the characters, although at times I did have a couple of issues with them, it was still overall a really enjoyable read. The chapter lengths were great and honestly it was the perfect reading size for a straightforward romance. So, as for the question, would I recommend the book? Absolutely. As I said, if you've read an Ali Hazelwood book before, then you kind of know what you're getting yourself in for, and if you like authors like Emily Henry, then I think this is also a good recommendation, but I will say that Ali Hazelwood's characters do usually seem a little bit more naive. Also, don't let the sciencey element put you off, because I thought it was great and thought-provoking. I mean, most of you out there who are reading like Icebreaker and other hockey romances, most of you have probably never played hockey in your life, or even watched a hockey game, but you still enjoy it, so maybe it's time to give STEM a chance. So, will I be reading any more by Ali Hazelwood? I think this must be the third book that I've read by this author, and I fully anticipate reading some more. In fact, I do already have a few on my TBR, and I do also really want to read the next book after Bride, so absolutely. So earlier on in the video, I said that you would get plenty of warning for any upcoming spoilers. This is that moment, so if you haven't read this book yet, I would suggest going doing that first, because beyond this point, there will absolutely be spoilers. So as I said, I did really enjoy this book. However, I did have a couple of issues with it. So B has probably spent most of her life being treated like crap and treated inferior in the workplace by men. Now in certain career paths that sort of misogynistic behaviour can be worse, and I have heard that for STEM, so science, technology, engineering and mathematics, I have heard that that can be particularly bad. So I'm struggling to envision this strong character who's faced all of this, pushed all those boundaries and is doing amazing in her field despite all those barriers in place, with a character who is also so self-centered and plays the victim all the time. There was just a couple of instances where it wasn't great and it just didn't seem to match her character. Like when the main love interest is trying to explain that he doesn't really have a healthy relationship with his family and things are horrible with them, her reaction is kind of just, well, it can't be that bad, at least you have a family, and I fucking hate that. Like, for starters, it wasn't about you, and secondly, if that is your main primary reaction to what he said, even if it's internalized, like how self-centered are you, and ignorant? But then when she meets them and realises just how terrible they are, she does stand up for them, but it was a little cringy. Like, I do feel like it would have made more sense to his character if he would have stuck up for himself, otherwise it didn't really feel that relevant to the story. Like, in that moment, there was no character development, there was no progress to the story. I just feel like there could have been more depth to it. But then I guess one reason as to why I like these books is because it's non-complicated, it's easy and low effort. But sometimes I would like a little bit more depth to the characters and the story, and a little bit more show don't tell. Other than that, I loved it for what it was, and I really enjoyed the Marie Curie part. I mean, for anyone who knew B, I feel like it should have been super obvious that she was the one behind the Twitter account. That, or they would have just thought that there were a hell of a lot of coincidences. Like, my friend is obsessed with Marie Curie, and this account seems to tweet about the topics we were just discussing. That seems to happen a lot. I wonder what that could mean. But then I kind of feel like that's a part of the fun. Like, don't question it too much. Just enjoy a little romance. Enjoy a sweet, easy read, and don't overcomplicate it. But let me know what you thought. Did you enjoy the book? Next week we're discussing Circle of Liars by Kate Francis, so don't forget to get your thoughts and comments in by Sunday the 3rd of August at the latest to be a part of the discussion. You can now do this on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram or Discord. The following week is This Woven Kingdom, but don't forget if you do need a little bit longer to read a book, we do now list the next 4 books down below along with the discussion dates. That way you can choose the genre that best suits you and the best time frame to read it in. Thank you all for joining, and if you like this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe, it's always appreciated, and I will see you next week. Bye! If you like romance, fantasy, or even thriller, basically anything fiction book related, then I suggest you head on over to the channel's intro video, where you can find out more information on how you can take part in this online book club. We announce books at least 4 weeks in advance, and we accept your bookish feedback in a wide manner of ways. Post your comment below a video, send in a voice note, or even send me a short video clip of you discussing the book. Alternatively, you can just send me a direct message.